Trump or Kamala?
Kamala.
How come?
Because she's brat.
What does that mean?
Google it.
No, but you're right here. I'm asking you.
A brat is a girl who's a little bit messy. She likes to party.
So only because she's a woman, basically? Or what?
I think she has actually really good policies. I think Kamala would actually make this country a better place, whereas I think Trump would make a lot of people sad.
Women are very easily propagandized. I always say that's like, the bad news is women are easily propagandized, but the good news is that women are easily propagandized. So we can like push it back the other direction. But like if you look at women's voting patterns, it tends to be like, oh, I want to take care of everyone. I want to be nice. Women will not vote for someone who's bald. Women will not vote for someone who's short. Women will not vote for someone who's not tan. Like when they look at women's voting patterns, it tends to be based on all kinds of other things, whereas men are more like about policy, logic, and things like that.
I think if women have had a personal issue with a policy, they're more willing to vote that way instead of looking at the greater good for society.
Right. Yeah. Women do personalize everything.
Yeah.
They're not very good at abstract thinking.
I had a chance to follow both the Republican and the Democratic National Convention, and particularly the Democratic National Convention almost seems like a concert with some speakers in the middle of it. Now, I know that it is a celebration of the party crowning their candidate, but this particular time it almost seems as if it's more about the celebration than it is about policies. When I studied in school, I learned in AP US history class that part of the convention's purpose is to establish a platform of ideas that you're going to run on, and that platform is something that you celebrate in the midst of the convention. But in this particular convention, that platform is noticeably absent from pretty much everywhere. And then one of the epiphanies struck me. It's not about policy, because it doesn't have to be about policy. It's about the voting numbers and demographics. The first thing that I realized about this particular election that is different from any other election that I've ever experienced is that it's not about policy. It's about one thing and one thing only: the gender gap.
So Steve, take it away. What type of impact will the gender gap have in 2024?
Yeah, Kristen, big question. Two ways to look at it nationally. Look at it this way. In 2020, Trump won among men over Biden by 5 points. In the polling this summer, in the month before Joe Biden dropped out, a little before and after effect here, Trump was running 12 points, you see here, above Biden this summer in the polling. Okay, now Harris comes in a month ago. In the average of all the polls since Harris got in, now Trump's lead among men is down a bit from where it was with Biden, down from 12 to 7. But still, Trump leading among men. This is typically what we see with the gender gap. Men more Republican than women. Trump on average up 7 right now over Harris among men. Now among women, Biden won women by 13 in the 2020 election. In that month before the debate when Biden was still the candidate, he still led with women, down to 5 points. Harris has now switched in the month since, her lead among women up to 9 points. So what do you have? You have Trump on average right now leading men by 7, leading women by 9. That is a gender gap of 16 points. Now that's big, but that's not new. It was 18 points in 2020, for instance. So this is what we've come to expect nationally.
Looking at the Democratic National Convention is very clear that it's higher on entertainment value and feel good than it is on policy. And the reason is pretty clear. If you look at each election since 1980, women have outvoted men. And if you look at each age group, women are outvoting men. And then when you consider that the voter this year is going to turn out younger than possibly ever before, with the first election in which millennials are going to have a lot to say about this election, it's very clear that they're marketing this particular election to millennials and younger voters. And what do millennials and younger voters care about?
Have you seen his 2024 agenda thing?
2024 agenda?
Yeah, he came out with a...
You mean Project 2025? Yeah, he said he doesn't associate with that at all.
He does associate with Agenda 47.
Yes, exactly. No, they're very different.
Well, actually, if you're going to be debating us about politics...
I'm not debating. I'm just getting your thoughts. People say Trump is the one who's trying to propagate Project 2025, right? And that's not true. He's not part of that.
Why? To be voting for Kamala simply for not because she's a woman, not because she's brown, not because of anything like that, but specifically for her policies.
Okay, so what policies do you like?
I mean, I like having my right to choose abortion not taken away.
The other one is that this is a direct quote, they are advocating for the largest deportation of illegals in American history. That's 11 million people.
Illegal people should obviously not be allowed in our country. They're illegal. That's the whole point. They're illegal. If you don't have a border in a country, then you don't have a country. A country, a country,
are,
right?
like human created, right?
Yeah,
I feel like
of course.
I'll be honest, I understand your concern and it's valid.
We just don't know who they are. That's the problem, right? Illegal people who come in.
They are,
The government does, yeah.
but you don't.
That doesn't matter. I'm just a citizen.
That's one aspect, is I strongly believe in human decency, taking care of our fellow humans regardless of where they come from.
So just let anyone in the country. Is that what you're saying?
You know, that's my own personal opinion, but I know that's not what Kamala is advocating for.
One of the things that's important to remember as we grow older is to remember where our blind spots are. When I went to school, it was mandatory to learn every capital of every state, and we had to recite them, I think, at 4th grade class. And I remember taking AP classes, so I took U.S. history in a very advanced environment, and we learned a lot about how America worked. And maybe it's just not that way anymore. And so now, this particular election, it appears, is going to be run on feelings. And it makes sense. If most of the voters are similar to what we're seeing here, then you have to run a campaign that appeals to these voters.
And there's lots of other people.
Why people don't go
Hold
through
up.
the legal? No, hold up.
There's lots
Do
of
you
other
know-
people
no,
that
do
are
you know
that are
why
going
people
through
do not go through the legal process
because it takes
Why?
forever. Because there's so many people
Do you not think
that are trying to come into our country
I am
legally.
being told by someone down the street that they're going to me and my family if I don't leave this country by tomorrow?
Nobody said that.
You don't know that. No, you don't live in Mexico. You do not live in a cartel state where people are afraid of their life every day.
But what does it have to do with America?
That has to do with the fact that we are a refugee spot for people like them to come.
And we have a legal
Do
process.
you realize how much of an you sound like
That's
saying?
why there's a legal process.
But this is what I'm saying, is these people would never make it through the system and not have that help if they did go through the legal process.
Because there's so many people trying to come to America.
If you think about the numbers, then it really makes sense why we're seeing a star-studded Democratic National Convention. If indeed you're appealing to voters like the 2 young ladies we saw in the previous video, then you're going to have popular stars saying, vote for our candidate because it's going to work. And then, of course, there are the numbers, which leads me to my second epiphany.
On the gender gap, it's here. It's at the state level. Here's a series of battleground states. This is all one pollster. The New York Times and Siena. These are all from last week. One set of polls, one pollster, but check some of these out. Michigan, Trump by 20 among men, Harris 28 among women. That is a gender gap in this poll of 48 points. Wisconsin, Trump 17, Harris 24, 41 points. Georgia, Trump 20, Harris 10, women 30-point gender gap. Now, cautionary notes, as we say, it's one pollster. There can be statistical noise here. Just look at Pennsylvania, barely a gender gap at all in the same state from New York Times, Siena. These numbers can bounce around, but this is the thing to look for. Is something happening in the states, in some of the battleground states, that's not necessarily happening nationally? Are there state-specific effects? They get ads, they get campaign activity, they get things happening in swing states that don't happen in a lot of the rest of the states. Maybe that's affecting the gender gap. Abortion politics. It's settled at the state level now. Are there abortion politics in some of these states that are affecting the gender gap in a way it is not happening elsewhere? Those are the questions raised by this. Of course, as we say, one poll, so we need to see more. But this is the thing to look for. Do we keep seeing state-specific gender gaps of anything approaching that scale? Because if we do, it's new, it's different, and it's hugely significant, Kristen.
And you can see that if indeed we're having more individual women voters, then the gender gap basically plays itself out. If all of the men vote and all of the women vote, and there are more women than men voting, it's quite simple, is it not? And that leads me to my last epiphany, which is simply, it appears that now America is in the hands of women. Women are the ones that are going to control the destiny of America. And if the destiny of America is going to be decided on the kind of politics that we're seeing at the Democratic National Convention, that is the fate of America. I'm not saying right or wrong. Right or wrong, I don't really think that it really exists as much as I used to. It's just what it is. And if this is the case, then there may be some pockets where guys can fight for certain things to be implemented. But if the country is going to be run on the backs of the voting patterns of the kind of young women that we saw in the video, then I don't know what we can really expect from politics except good luck to women in choosing good policies. Because if the women vote and they outvote us, we're going to get what we're seeing. And not only that, but we're going to get more of it. Right or wrong, it is what it is. So women of America, America's fate is in your hands. I hope that you choose wisely because America belongs to you. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'll catch you next video. Take care.